takes us to the next step, which
Can
is,
I make one caveat to that though?
sure.
If for instance, you were looking at that data and your percentage was down, let's just say of Hispanic population, but the institute as a whole had a very high Hispanic population, right? And it was just your classes. I would recommend that you might be able to look at strategies in terms of marketing to ESL students, for at least the CTE folks, because we do need to increase pathways within our own organization, and that's a good pathway for high school basic skills and ESL. It's something we try to do a lot, is go in and market to those classes. So, but I agree with what you're saying. Ultimately, we want it to be something inside the classroom and something that the instructor can actually affect.
We have a lot of responsibilities as instructors, in terms of.
Well, it might be something where, to Jesus's point, you'd be working with your program chair, your dean. I often go into a lot of those classes myself and talk, so it might be something that you would talk to your dean and program chair about in terms of like what you would like to see happen.
What if your class, your class is structured so that you have at the end some kind of presentation or accomplishment or whatever that capstone is of the actual course, not of the program, but of the course? Is if you expanded that within your classroom to invite people into that, is that crossing over and not becoming a classroom intervention now? Or can that be structured as that's how you want to run your class and you invite people into that, or to an online event or something like that, that they actually, you do yourself within the students marketing to other people outside?
Your hope would be to get those students to then be your students the next semester.
Right.
I think that's classroom intervention, and we could track that. What do you think, Jesus?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, sounds good, Shirley.
Yeah. And actually, it's good that Shirley mentioned that, because what you mentioned, Shirley, it's kind of like, I don't know what's the word, like it's a creative way to keep things within the classroom, but at the same time, making them to have a higher impact. So that takes me to the next slide, because what I did is that I was trying to find a couple of examples of potential classroom interventions. And the thing that I found out is that a lot of the things that have like resources that are outside, like literature and stuff like that, examples from other colleges, those are institutional level interventions. So I first thought, well, this is a bummer, because how can I show them lots of things that they are not going to be able to do within the classroom? But then I thought, well, there's going to be a way. I mean, for a couple of them, there's going to be a way to adapt them to the classroom. And I don't want to say that I know the answer to this. This is why I want to bring this up to you. But I think whatever we do in order to make an institutional level intervention a classroom intervention, it would be along the lines of what Shirley just explained, like trying to be creative and finding this way to give more powers or more feet to our intervention. So let me just show you the examples that I have found. So one example that I found, it was a lot about alert and interventions, in the sense of thinking about the classroom. Potentially, you could determine like a point in time in your class, say that after doing this assessment analysis, say that you identify that after assessment number 3, you lose a lot of your students. So that is kind of like an alert. You are ready to take care of those students once you are getting closer to this assessment. So again, this was an idea that I have found in the literature that they did a little different, but I mean, for me, it's kind of like a potential intervention, like trying to find those instances where you might lose students and be ready to help them out. The second one that I found, it was about engagement strategies, in the sense of things like learning the names of all your students, for example, or maybe just saying, hi, everyone, how was your weekend, stuff like that. Some people have tried to do things like that with different results. So this is just trying to give you some ideas so that you can start thinking about what would be a potential classroom intervention for you. The third one that I have is, again, engagement strategies, but with kind of like keeping in mind cultural competencies, in the sense that, maybe just to give you one example, when you, I'm going to speak as a Mexican. For Mexicans, for us, someone saying good morning, that's like, for us, it's critical. Like, it really, in our culture, the fact that someone tells you good morning or doesn't tell you that really speaks a lot about the person in our culture. So that is, again, some people try to do some engagement or practices, keeping those kind of things in mind, not only for Mexican students, but in general. We also found, or I also found, some about mentoring, in the sense of, as much as possible, because again, it is tricky. One thing that I wanted to talk about you is how feasible these things are, because I know we have limited resources. And as Leah mentioned, well, it's putting a lot of things on the faculty. So there's like a limit. So there was a couple of examples about people doing mentoring things with their students, in the sense that they were trying to support those students that were really struggling to get through the class. Then I also found one that was about supplemental instruction, which is kind of like mentoring, but just focusing on the content of the class, identify students that are struggling and following up with them. Skills to succeed. This was one that I found very interesting, because some colleges, this was an institutional level intervention, but I'm wondering if maybe this could be applied to the classroom. Because what some colleges started doing is that at the beginning of the student, when the students first enrolled into classes, the first thing that they have them do is to take a course that is going to teach you how to get time management skills, how to read, how to look for literature. Like, instead of talking about the program, it's more about how can you be successful in your program, like how you should use Google search, how you should manage your time, how you should the Canvas, all those things. Like, they were starting from that piece before telling students anything about the actual program. So this is just another example that I found. The other one that I found was about what they call like beyond the classroom, like keeping students engaged, or telling students about the prize, what's on the other side. So interventions like this were around telling students, like, yes, right now we're looking at these contents, but keep in mind that in the future, in the industry, once you start working, you're going to be doing this and this and this, and also sharing with students like potential apprenticeships options and things like that, in order to keep students engaged, feeling that they are looking at the prize and they are interested in continuing in the program. So there was that. And I also found some interventions about class attendance, kind of like how sometimes the fact that you either drop a student or do not drop a student because they have missed one or two classes, how that really impacts the level of retention and success that you can expect from some students. So again, these are just some ideas, some things that I found in the internet. I wanted to put them here on the table because I don't know about this, honestly. This is out of the things that I would know. You know way better than myself about this, but I just wanted to put some ideas, and I wanted to hear your thoughts about this. Whether if you think that this wouldn't work, or you feel like, yeah, there might be potential in one of two, or maybe you have different ideas.